Somebody. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are live right here in the beautiful Buckhead community of Atlanta. Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are coming on, joining us live today, please do me a quick favor. Hit the like button, hit the share button, tag Lolly Dolly, everybody, and let them know that your boy, Ramon Preston, my squad, we are all live right here in the beautiful Buckhead community of Atlanta. Today is Wednesday, W-I-N-S Day, Wednesday. It's a winning Wednesday, July the 3rd, 2024. And today we're going to be talking about holding companies and asset management. Holding companies and asset management. So please put in the comments what city you're watching us from today. Let us know what city you're watching us from today. Again, we're going to be talking about holding companies and asset management. Holding companies and asset management. Now, just in case you missed yesterday's show, I was explaining to you that even though you as an entrepreneur have to start as a laborer, you have to function as an operator, you have to develop as a CEO, you have to learn the art of asset accumulation. Even though at some point you have to become good at asset acquisitions. Even though you have to go through these stages and phases of your own personal professional development, the ultimate goal is for you to operate at the highest level of asset management, where you have a holding company, you stand at the top of that holding company, and your holding company has subsidiaries, it has divisions, and it has a universe of activities and operations. That's the ultimate goal. So even though your ultimate goal is to become the asset manager, even though your ultimate goal is to manage assets through your holding company, you still have to become as best of a laborer as you possibly can. Selling products, selling services, marketing, promoting your business, doing the day-to-day activities. You have to operate your business, self-employed, solopreneur, hiring VAs and building a team. You have to become the CEO and grow as the CEO, casting vision, overseeing the day-to-day activities of the operations and the labor. At some point, you have to start accumulating assets, identifying with the things that could be monetized, creating variations of products and services, physical products, physical services, digital services. You have to look outside of your business at some point, outside of your own operation and ecosystem, to acquire other hard assets or business assets, intellectual assets, and bring them in. But once you develop the skill set, and once you become a master at a collection of these things, at some point you elevate and you graduate to becoming an asset manager. So today we're talking about holding companies and asset management, because I think they go hand in hand. Now, again, I'm a business, financial, you could consider me a real estate consultant, coach, and educator. But more importantly, I'm a business, financial, and real estate practitioner, which means that I'm waking up every day, running my business, building my business, growing my business. I'm working on my finances, building my finances, developing them. I'm working on real estate. These are the things that I do every day. So what I share with you on live shows like this show, or what I share with you on the internet, these are all things that I practice and I have practiced on a regular basis, that I'm continuing to develop. I'm seeing what works and what doesn't work. And these are the things that I share with clients that I consult, or mentees that I coach, or just students that I educate inside of our university training platform. Whatever the case is, I have enough proof, I have enough documentation, I have enough experience with people to know that if you put two entrepreneurs side by side, I have proof to show this. If you put two entrepreneurs side by side, and one entrepreneur only thinks like a laborer, maybe an operator, or a CEO at best. They have products and services. They start an LLC. They go out into the market and they start building a business, selling products and services. If you put that entrepreneur against another entrepreneur who creates an infrastructure like this, where they first set up their holding company, even though they have to drop back down and be the laborer to sell products and services. But if you put two entrepreneurs side by side, one who doesn't understand this type of infrastructure and one who does, I have proof to show that the one who understands this infrastructure and who creates this infrastructure the first time, even when they're just getting started, this person almost always does a better job. Now, a lot of that could just be mental, because I know for me, when I started my first business, I didn't understand this. I didn't understand asset management, acquisitions, accumulation. I didn't even know what a CEO was. I didn't understand the difference between an operator and a laborer. I was just a scrapper. I was just a hustler, willing to get up every day, get out here and make something happen. You know what I mean? Just to make money. That's all I had. That's all I knew. However, once I understood these concepts and became aware of how powerful these concepts were, and once I flipped that switch in my head and hit the reset button and created my holding company, and then once I structured my operations and my activities the right way under my holding company, and I understood that this was the exit plan. This was how I was going to get off the hamster wheel and out of the rat race of just grinding and hustling and the grit. Even if I didn't want to, at least I knew what my exit strategy could be if I wanted to exercise it. That changed how I thought. It changed how I labored every day, because I wasn't laboring feeling like I ain't getting nowhere. It doesn't mean my labor was easier, but it meant that I was incentivized to grind a little harder, because I knew if I labor hard enough and long enough, and I'm as strategic as I can, and I develop and grow and expand, at some point I would be operating a business that I could start bringing team members on and duplicating myself and become a real CEO and start accumulating real assets, and then grow into acquiring assets and ultimately become an asset manager. So for those of you that are entrepreneurs, whether you have one business or multiple businesses, you don't have to put any answer in the comment, but just ask yourself, if your infrastructure was set up with this in mind, if you understood the stages and phases of what I have just here on this board, would that change how you have to get up every day and just labor to sell a $20 product, or to call people and get told off or get hung up on? It does change it. It doesn't eliminate the pain. It doesn't change the fact that you still got to get up and grow your business. But I think, and I have proof with myself and other entrepreneurs, I think it changes your perspective. It changes your point of view. It incentivizes you to keep going, because at least you know where you're going. Yesterday on the show, just in case you didn't watch it, I mentioned that when you enter a deal, This is how we think in real estate. When you enter a deal in real estate, you have to enter, or you should enter a deal in real estate with the exit in mind. So a good real estate investor, when they enter a deal, they already know what the exit is. They know who they're going to sell that property to when they sell it, or if they decide to sell it. They already know what bank they might work with if they refinance it, if they're going to rent it, if they're going to do a lease option, if they're going to sell it, fix it, and flip it. An investor knows the exit at the entry. So I think when you are entering entrepreneurship to build a business and you understand what the exit is, and the exit, again, if I hadn't mentioned this before, the exit is not all about you exiting the entirety of your enterprise. Sometimes the exit is just you exiting certain roles so that you could be free to do the things that you know have the highest value and the highest impact in your business, in your life, and in your community, okay? So these stages and phases are critical. But again, holding companies and asset management, they work hand in hand, all right? As a matter of fact, every asset manager that I've read about, or that I've studied, or that I've listened to, or have been exposed to, every one of them, they either own the holding company or they are one of the primary members or general sponsors in a holding company, and they have built an infrastructure that they stand on, which allows them to participate and execute at the highest level as asset managers. And they every day wake up and work towards acquiring more assets, accumulating more assets. Perhaps they're still assuming a role or somewhat of a role of a CEO, or they're working with other CEOs. They understand the operations of those businesses. They might not know all the details. They might not know every KPI, but they have a basic foundational understanding of the operation, and they have an understanding and a foundation for the laborers. What does it actually take to keep not just this business going, because this is one business, but they understand what it takes to keep this going all the way to the laborers, the employees, the staff, people who are part of it, the systems, the processes, the platforms, the technologies, the equipment, all the things that make this ecosystem what it is. So all of you that are entrepreneurs, if you have an existing LLC or existing LLCs, but you don't have a holding company, I encourage you to really look into identifying why having a holding company could be beneficial to you. Why having a holding company could relieve you of some of the stress and the strain that you feel if you're down here, because most entrepreneurs, and again, I can't even count how many entrepreneurs I've worked with up to this point, just as a business consultant, as a coach. Even when in ministry, I've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs and pastors and ministry leaders. So I've worked with people on both sides. And whether it's ministry that someone is building a organization around, or whether it's business someone is building an enterprise around, most, and this is unfortunate, but most leaders / entrepreneurs who are getting into these organizations or enterprises, most of them don't operate no further than labor at best operator. Most of them. And a laborer would be considered an employee. An operator would be considered self-employed. It would be considered someone who has a business and maybe have a staff, or they have a nonprofit and they have volunteers, but they're doing most of the work and they really don't delegate. They don't outsource. They don't really know about the basic systems and processes of how to actually run the day-to-day activities of the things that they're doing. And most entrepreneurs who are stuck right here, most people who are stuck right here, one of the signs that this is where they are is they feel like they're all over the place. So if you're watching this today and you are leading a LLC, even if you're leading a nonprofit or both, because I lead both, if you feel like you are all over the place with or without staff, with or without volunteers, with or without virtual assistants, with or without some of the basic systems and processes, if you feel like you're all over the place, I already know, because this is what I do as a consultant and coach, I already know it is because you have not developed as an individual beyond a laborer and or an operator. Even though most entrepreneurs have CEO on their cards, they have CEO on their website, on their brochures, they are not chief executive officers in their mind because they have not developed and built the capacity to not just handle the things that CEOs are responsible for, but they have not developed the mind, the mentality, or have the capacity to understand the complexities of what it takes to actually be a chief or lead executive officer. They don't know how to execute sales, marketing, finances, administration, operations. They don't know how to execute. They don't even know what to execute. So again, I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I'm really trying to show you what your potential is, what the possibilities are, but you still got to be willing to open yourself up. First of all, you got to admit that, you know what? This is where I'm at. And if you've entered a business or you've entered some type of activity without the exit in mind. And again, when I say the exit, I'm not talking about how you're going to sell your company, how you're going to have a successor. That's not necessarily what I'm talking about when I say exit. How am I going to exit the role of the laborer, exit the role of the operator, exit the role of the CEO, exit the role of just accumulating assets, exit the role of acquiring assets? How am I going to exit these roles? Meaning that I'm not leaving these roles, ROLES, these responsibilities. I'm not leaving them empty, but every time I exit them, I'm refilling them with people, with processes, with platforms, with systems, with automations, with success, with a proof of concept, with something that's sustainable. So I'm not leaving it empty. I'm not aborting it. I'm actually building on that foundation, and that is considered an exit. So I'm going to exit the role of a laborer into an operator. I'm going to exit the role of an operator into a CEO. I'm going to exit the role of a CEO into an asset accumulator, an asset acquirer, till I get to a point to where I'm an asset manager. But back to why you want to have a holding company. Because when you set this holding company up, even if you have not understood these things yet, even if you haven't learned them yet, at least you have a business structure set up that forces you to start thinking like an asset manager, if that makes sense. Of course, if you have any questions, feel free to put the questions in the comments. Again, like most of the popularity that I have, which for whatever it's worth, but most of the popularity that I have or that I've gained just within the last 5 years, since I've really started talking more publicly about the business side of what I do, most of that popularity has come from me talking to people about holding companies and asset management, showing people how these concepts can help small business owners, solopreneurs, even people in ministry. I have helped to show them how they should structure their enterprises in a unique way that not only systematizes both things that they do, but it contextualizes. I know I'm using big words, but let me give you an example. If that's you, and let's just say you do have a nonprofit, and let's say you do have a for-profit, well, you still have to create an infrastructure that gives you the ability and the capacity to run both of these in a way that you don't have to come off the top of that mountain. I often explain to preachers and ministers and people in the nonprofit space who do have for-profit ventures, I often explain to them that you essentially at that level have to become a train conductor, because a train has a conductor. This is the conductor, this ecosystem, even though these are two separate entities. These are nonprofit entities and for-profit entities, but it's like a train, and you have a train that's on two tracks. But you have to build an infrastructure that gives you the ability to be a conductor so that you're not just stuck on one track. I know what it is to be stuck on one track. For years, I was stuck on this track. I was stuck on the nonprofit track. And I had for-profit aspirations, dreams, desires. Every once in a while, I would jump over there. I would dibble and dabble, but I was getting off track because I didn't know how to properly set my infrastructure up in a way that I could be efficient here, efficient there, and succeed moving forward. So again, whether it's nonprofit or whether it's all for profit, well, guess what? It's the same thing. You still need, as a for-profit leader, your holding company, LLC, to be number one. That's what you as an individual will own, or you and your spouse, or you and your child. It could be you, your spouse, both of y'all, you own that company. That's the parent company. Remember, if that's the parent company, even though I'm not the asset manager yet, but at least I can start thinking like an asset manager. But now I have a business that sells products, right? I have products that I want to sell. Maybe I have a business that provides services. I have services that I want to provide. Even though I am developing the mentality and building the capacity to think like an asset manager, because that's my exit. That's my exit. That's where I'm going to go and be when I exit all these other roles. Even though I'm looking at that for the future, I still have to wake up every day and run my business as a solopreneur or small business owner. And my business is going to be made up of a few things. My business is going to be made up of sales, marketing. My business is going to be made up of admin. That could be operations. My business is going to be made up of financials. Each of these areas will become, at some point, each of these areas will become their own independent departments or divisions that will have their own systems and their own processes, right? But when you starting out and you don't have that infrastructure, guess who's responsible to do it? You. A lot of entrepreneurs don't want to hear that because they think they're going to hire VAs to do all this stuff. You may get away with some of it for some time, but I promise you, very few people build successful infrastructures. And the proof is in the pudding. All you have to do is look at the data. I got data. I know a whole lot of people who got data. And the data doesn't lie. Very few people pull off having a successful business enterprise without getting down in the trenches, or either having enough money that they can afford to pay people top dollar to do these things for them. That either way. So you look at some of the nerds, the geeks that come from Silicon Valley, and you think, well, those guys, they don't really sell. They don't really do the admin or the operations, and they don't run their financials. Yeah, but they were able to raise enough money. We're talking about millions and billions or hundreds of millions of dollars. They was able to do raises. They was able to bring in venture capitalists and private equity groups, and they were able to raise enough money to have a burn rate long enough to pay people top dollar to do these things while they worked on the app or the IP or whatever the things are. You as a small business owner, and depending on what side of the tracks you came up on, you are already behind the 8 ball. You already have enough strikes against you. So you don't have a whole lot of wiggle room and flexibility to do what maybe other people have done, especially if you're in a different industry, you're part of a different culture. Like, I know we try to overlook that stuff. That's why I always tell my students and mentees and people that I work with, like, listen, I don't care. My mama white, but I'm still culturally a black man. Yes, I'm biracial, but when it comes to the culture, when it comes to the world, I'm a black man. I have a black-owned business. I'm a Christian. I'm a man of God. I'm a preacher. All these things I got to be aware of. I don't care what nobody say. I'm going to be aware of these things because I'm not going to be blind to the fact that this can have an impact on how I get into certain doors, how I get certain things done, and it will have an even bigger impact on me if I ignore it, if I'm blind to it, if I don't think it exists. It does exist, and I want to be aware of it. Now, I'm not going to let it cripple me. I'm not going to let it disable me. I'm not going to use it as an excuse to not move forward, but I just need a heightened awareness to understand that if I'm not able to, let's say, go start Ramon Preston Enterprises LLC, and if I don't have enough juice in the business to where I can walk in a bank and get $100,000, or to the point that I can call a SEC attorney and start an IP or something and raise $2 million to get my business off the ground because people want to buy into it. If I'm not in a position to do that, and I have to wake up today and figure out what product can I go sell, what service can I go provide, what can I do to get Ramon Preston Enterprises on the map and start making money? If I have to go that route because of a lot of different reasons, not just cultural reasons or racial reasons, maybe it's economic reasons, social, religious, political, whatever the reasons are, physical, mental, educational, it could be so many different reasons. But if that's what my approach has to be, then I have to understand that these areas have to be developed. And if I cannot pay people to do it, I got to be willing to do it. And if you're an entrepreneur listening to me, it don't matter if you got a holding company, LLC, or no LLC. If you're trying to build something and make money, these are the things that make up your business today. All that other stuff don't mean nothing. I promise you it don't mean nothing. And you got to know what you need to be on. Like, for example, you could be stuck on the financials. All you doing is QuickBooks, and you learning CRMs and you learning admin, and you're trying to get your letterhead and you're trying to get your trademark and your copyright and blah, blah, blah. If that ain't making you today money, you need to get off that. You need to get to sales and marketing. You get what I mean? So this is why it's important. But again, having this infrastructure helps you deal with this stuff because it's hard to work towards putting all that stuff together. So listen, I'm going to stop. It's 12:31. I try to go at least 30 minutes when I'm here in the office live. Hopefully you learned something about holding companies and asset management. I would love to get some feedback from you. Just put in the comments what your biggest takeaway was from today's show. Let me know if you have any questions. Maybe there's some more information that you need regarding holding companies and asset management. I can't even tell you how much we do for people when it comes to just these two topics. We have courses, online video-based courses. We have startup kits to walk people through each step of setting up their own holding companies and subsidiaries. We have the documents and the forms in those kits. We conduct workshops. As a matter of fact, let's see how many pages this is. This is a 30-page, this is one of our workbooks right here. This is a holding company workbook where we go through every aspect of starting and structuring a holding company, including how to increase your net worth through the accumulation of assets. We also talk about asset management, asset acquisition. This is just one workshop that we host. And again, we have a coaching program where we have weekly calls and so many other resources. But if that's not where you are today, that's cool. Because guess what? We always have some free resource that we offer our community. We have many free resources on Ramon Preston University, where you can get access to all those free resources, business and ministry resources. But today, this is a free resource we have. It is our business assessment workbook. Now, if you were to call my office and let's say hire my company to consult you, or if you wanted me to coach you and you needed a one-on-one session and we sat down, well, we conduct a 5-step process. That's what we've created as a consulting and coaching firm, a 5-step process that we walk our clients through, whether we're coaching or consulting people, all right? That 5-step process is put in this workbook. This is a 17-page digital workbook. It's very similar to this that you can print out, and it gives you an explanation of how you need to assess yourself and every area of your business in order to determine what is your next best move. So this is a free business assessment workbook. You can download it absolutely free. And when you download it, there are also walkthrough videos for each of the 5 steps. They're short videos that I've created to walk you through each step, because it's not a full coaching session. I'm not coaching you in person. It's a simulation to at least get your mind going, get you to start thinking, asking yourself questions. There are a lot of questions in the workbook, and you can start jotting down other questions and highlighting things that might pique your interest. And then once you complete that, it may take you about 30 to 45 minutes. We also offer a free strategy call. So you can text the word strategy to one of these numbers. My team and I will respond back to you. We'll jump on a call. We'll answer whatever questions you have, whether you buy something from me or not. It doesn't really matter. I mean, of course, I would love for you to be a student or a client or just a part of our community. But if not, guess what? It's cool. That's a free resource. All you have to do is click the link in the description. It will prompt you to our university platform, where you will see that business coaching assessment with the workbook, with the walkthrough videos, and you can text the word strategy when you're finished, and we'll answer whatever questions that you may have about your business, your products, your services, your systems, your processes, whatever you're doing. We want to answer those questions. Matt, question in the chat. What legal documents go into having a holding company? Really, the only legal documents that go into having a holding company are, let's see here, articles of organization. Those are your articles. You're going to get your EIN number. So that's really not a document. You're going to get your articles of organization. And these really are articles that you're going to file online. You're going to file them online with your Secretary of State. So these 2 are going to be online. Once these 2 are filed, then you're able to go open up your bank account. And the only document after that would be your operating agreement. And depending on if you have certain assets that, this is your LLC, holding company. So depending on if there are certain assets that you have that you may personally own, or let's say you have other LLCs that are already in existence. Depending on that, the only other document that you may use will be an asset transfer agreement to make sure that you transfer those assets and have documentation to show that this new holding company LLC now owns whatever that asset or those assets are. And that's only for your record purposes to validate, but this is the most important one right here, your operating agreement. Derek, is it wise to have a holding in with an investment firm like Charles Schwab? I don't understand, like, are you asking, is it wise to have a holding company and then through your holding company invest with Charles Schwab? Is that what you're asking me? I just want to make sure I'm clear on what the question is. I mean, I'm not a financial advisor, so I couldn't say that it would be the wisest. I know that's kind of like one of those, professional answers to say, well, it depends. But I'm not a financial advisor, so I wouldn't know if it would be wise for you depending on your financial makeup. But I could give you an example. For me, if I were to invest, let's say in the stock market, if I were to invest with Charles Schwab, if I were to invest anywhere, I would never, and that's just me because I'm a thoroughbred entrepreneur, so that's just me. So for example, I have a holding company, LLC. My holding company is Ramon Preston Enterprises, okay? I have a holding company. So if I, Ramon Preston, wanted to invest in stocks, and I hope I'm answering this question for you because I don't know what your situation is, real estate or whatever, or somebody else's business. If I were to do it because of what I know and because of how I've built my infrastructure, I would never personally invest in stocks or bonds or with companies like Charles Schwab or Merrill Lynch or Vanguard. I would always make that investment through my holding company. I would do that because I wouldn't want to personally own any of those assets, whether they're stocks, bonds, or ETF account or any of that. I wouldn't want that personally. I would want all that owned and controlled by my holding company. So hopefully I answered that question for you. You know, the goal or the game is to own nothing but control everything. So in order for me to own nothing and control everything, if I set up a Vanguard account or an investment account with a REIT, or if I invest in a fund, or if I'm finna go buy some Bitcoin or some gold or something, for me, based on what I know and based on my understanding of wealth building and how I've created my infrastructure, I'm not making that purchase or setting up that account personally, unless they demand that there needs to be a personal guarantor or something. Otherwise, I want my business to do that. Even when it comes to getting a loan, if I could get a loan through my business at a bank without me personally getting a loan, if I can go buy a vehicle in my business name without me buying it, if I can buy a piece of real estate without me personally buying it, I'm gonna do all that through my holding company or through another subsidiary LLC that would actually hold whatever that asset is. So hopefully that made sense. Hey, I appreciate y'all for joining us today. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for the feedback. Remember, if you need that free business assessment just to get your mind going so that you can start understanding what things you need to be clear on in order to build your enterprise out, with your holding company, with your subsidiaries, so that at some point you can move and position yourself to be an asset manager, just click the link in the description. If you're watching from IG, you're going to have to go to the link in the bio, click the link tree bio, and you're going to see the link to the free business coaching assessment workbook. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for joining the show. Tomorrow is 4th of July, so I guess my wife, our COO, has given us the day off. So I don't know. I might not even be here tomorrow. So guess we'll see y'all Friday. So love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Thank y'all. Have an amazing rest of the Wednesday, and I'll see y'all maybe Friday, 12 o'clock noon. Same place, same time right here on the Ramon Preston Show.